Let's not forget, in its glory days, UG was sitting between a Gégère and a Patek. Universal Genève was sold by brands like Hermès and Van Cleef. It is, in my opinion, a hidden treasure of the watch industry, which unfortunately suffered from the quartz crisis, but has a tremendous history and heritage and even brand identity, I would say.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. We have Ariel on the line. Good morning, Ariel. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. I am so ready to podcast right now.
Oh, you're raring to go. Just a podcast machine. David, how are you this morning?
Very well. Podcast mode engaged.
The flips are switched, or the switched are flipped, or something like that. Anyway, and we have Sylvain, our favourite. What are your favourite? David, what's Sylvain our favourite of?
Guest on the show.
Just favourite guest. We can't do better than that. It's just a favourite guest. Yes,
it doesn't get better than that. Praise does not get higher than that.
Anyway, we have Sylvain, creative director of Breitling, with us this morning, and also creative director, owner, general dog's body, does everything of Berneron. Is it actually called Berneron Watches, or is it called Berneron?
It's just called Berneron. Yeah, good morning, everybody.
So we're going for the Apple effect, just a single name, just Berneron.
He's going to be making other things in the future. You're going to have a Berneron car, and I'm going to be wearing some Berneron pants. It's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
My life is going to be too short for that, I'm afraid. But if I can manage to build a few good watches that people will enjoy and remember, I would be very pleased about that already.
Don't forget the pants.
I was going to say, Sylvain, if your life ends up designing pants for Ariel, it's time to stop. It's time to say.
Yes.
It's time to
Is
say
that
the career
slogan
has
of
not gone
Berneron?
well.
Time to stop.
Time to stop. Dear me. Anyway, we got a little message, and we've been trying to keep clear, the three of us, of all of the news wires this morning, because Sylvain was like, guys, I want to come on the show next week. I'm like, okay, it's normally we ask you, but fair enough. He says, no, you want me on the show next week. And so we know that means that there's clearly an announcement coming from either Berneron, well, I don't know, he sold it for $1 gazillion already, or from Breitling, but we still don't know what it is. So we're going to play, rather than guess the price of the Seiko, we're going to play guess what Sylvain wants to come on the show and tell us about. It's not quite as snappy a title, but you get the gist. So we're basically going to play 20 questions with the news. We might not get as far as 20 questions, but it'll be yes, no answers only. So Ariel, you get to go first. Ask Sylvain a question, trying to figure out what he wants to come on the show and tell us, and he's only allowed to answer yes or no. So you're up first, Ariel.
There's going to be a new highway in Switzerland named after Breitling. Lots of speed cameras. Lots of
Unfortunately
speed cameras.
not.
No? All right.
Speed cameras, yes.
David, your turn.
Oh my goodness. That's a really good question, though.
About the motorway.
I sort of want Breitling to branch out into more emergencies in other fields of life. Just emergency Breitling equipment.
Different emergencies.
Just all kinds like sirens and stuff.
Sylvain, is Breitling branching out into more different forms of emergency, like, tidal waves, volcanoes, floods, earthquakes?
Nope, it's not that.
Okay. Is it something in Switzerland?
Yes.
Okay. Ariel.
That's a good question.
New train station named after Breitling. The current
Ariel,
station?
just leave Swiss infrastructure out of your mind. Like, can you
That's all they're proud of.
New nuclear power station. Sylvain, is it a new train station?
No.
Okay. David?
Is it a new manufacturer?
No.
I mean, Rolex is building new stuff, new facilities, etc. So maybe.
It is part of it, but that's not the main bulk of the news. Okay. But it includes...
Breitling finally gets that second story.
Okay. In Switzerland. So, just to confirm, it is to do with Breitling, yes? Yes, okay. It's not Berneron. You haven't actually sold your company for $1 million already.
No,
So
and that will never happen. But
it
could just be Breitling buying Berneron. It could be that.
No, Berneron buying Breitling. That's it.
Reverse takeover.
You're right. That makes so much more sense.
Plot
twist. Ariel, have a guess.
Oh, wow. Again.
Or a question.
Don't be infrastructure. Has Breitling now followed in the footsteps of Francois Paul Jorn and become a restaurateur?
No, it's not that. But it is. I should give a slight clue.
Uh-huh.
It is basically very important business news about Breitling.
Okay, so it's business related. So it's not a new line of watches. David.
Ah, jeez. What else? Is it like
they're finally taking over Swiss Air?
It's
that's infrastructure again, Ariel. Ariel, leave it alone.
I can't help myself.
Zurich Airport now is like a huge Breitling boutique or something. You can only fly if you buy a watch. That's actually pretty good.
David.
All Swiss Air flights are piloted by George Kern.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I like that.
Is it an IPO for Breitling?
No, it's not. It's not an IPO. I can give a second clue. It is basically massive news in order to continue and further develop the stellar growth of Breitling.
Okay.
So if
you're now making missiles for wartime
again with the infrastructure.
If you create the emergency, you sell more emergencies. You see?
Yeah.
Look out, Liechtenstein, the Swiss are coming.
Being a weapon supplier is not a bad business move these days. Let's be honest.
That's true. Okay, so if you're not doing an IPO, does that mean you're buying somebody else?
Yes.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay, Ariel.
Yes, Rick.
Right, I think. Okay, I think we all need to now. I think we all need to now write down our guess. Okay, so we're not actually on video, so this will just need to be truth. You just need to say the truth. So on the assumptions, I'll jump in and ask: is it another watch brand?
Yes.
Okay, Breitling have got another watch brand. So gentlemen, write down your guesses. Okay, right. You written your guesses down?
Okay.
Okay. Sylvain, who do you want to hear from first?
Ariel.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that I think that Breitling acquired Carla Bucherware to save Rolex from the awkwardness, just that it's there.
Just put them out of their misery, yes.
That was my guess, so I'll need to make right. God. David?
Hysterical. I sort of wish, we've heard all these rumors that some of these big groups like Swatch and Richemont and others would be selling off some of their ill-fated and, let's be honest, ill-managed brands. Just swap them around a little bit or something like that. It would be fun to see something along those lines. Maybe, Breitling just purchasing Blancpain or just basically taking it over. I'm not sure if Swatch Group would notice anyway. Yeah.
Who would Mark go diving with?
It's hysterical. Can you imagine they didn't even notice until next year's annual report? That's hysterical.
Still got the logo in the annual report.
We're not losing quite so much money after all. That's great.
We're possibly not taking this as seriously as Sylvain would like. My guess was actually genuinely Carl Bucherer, but I'm gonna go for Doxa. Here we go. So, right, okay.
No.
It's on the basis that it's none of them unless one of us has guessed right. Has anyone guessed right?
No. It's not a brand in an existing group, and it's actually not a brand that is. I would say in the watch enthusiast spectrum of things considered as active.
Ooh, okay.
Considered as active?
Active, okay.
Is it like the debate if a zombie is alive or not? What does that mean?
Yes.
I guess we're about to find out because Sylvain's about to tell us what's going on.
Like they exist, but we're not sure if they're active or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is definitely a brand that the four of us know and appreciate a lot.
Is it Minerva?
No.
Or Eterna? I was thinking Samna.
No.
Okay, a brand we all know.
Try to think. In my opinion, it is really the golden goose or even the myth of brands that everybody would like to be active again and which is not.
Breguet. That's right.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so brands that everyone would like to be active again. I mean, Vulcane is active. That was always my favorite. Who's been in?
Favre Luva
Hybrid.
was for sale, I think.
Yeah, but nobody thinks about them, sadly.
They've been around for like 600 years, okay?
285 years, I just go with it. 285 years of non-existence, technically.
I don't Elgin or something. I don't know.
Hey, that's an American.
Yeah, you can't. The
Hey,
Swiss
but
aren't allowed to
still.
buy the Americans.
Yeah.
Oh,
The US is an important market for Breitling.
For Elgin.
I don't
It
know.
is a
Right.
Swiss brand.
So it's a Swiss brand. So a slightly underrated Swiss brand that's been in hibernation for a bit.
Credit Suisse.
Credit Swiss.
That's even better. Could it be Universal Genève?
Indeed. Well guessed. You went quick to that.
Oh, there we go. I guess no one was doing anything with that.
Not so quick. I mean, we went through like half a dozen of freaking brands. When Favre Luba's brand is mentioned, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Hey, it was available.
That's actually true. No offense to Favre Luba.
So that's the news, guys.
Cool.
Basically, Breitling is acquiring Universal Genève, which is, in my opinion, really the one and only amazing brand still to revive. As you may know, this brand has been tried to be acquired by multiple people over the past decades. No one could succeed. And George, because this guy is such a force of nature, found a way to make it happen, which is amazing in my opinion.
Are we ever going to know that story, Sylvain, about how George made it happen? Or is that going to be one of those watchmaking myths that we're just never really going to know?
Yeah, maybe in a few years we could talk about that. But
wow.
It was really a rock and roll story. I could maybe talk a little bit about it. We took a lot of convincing and back and forth and email and meetings. George has been working on it for the past 2 years.
Wow. Who owns Universal Genève now?
So now, at this time of this podcast, it is now Breitling.
Okay.
But before, it was owned by a company called Stelux in Hong Kong.
And what were they planning on doing with it? Was it just an asset to them?
I think they tried to revive UG. Probably not to the extent that they were hoping for, which led the brand to be slightly dormant and active. And now, thanks to Partners Group, the backing of Partners Group and Breitling and the teams we have in place, we are confident that we are the ones who can not only acquire UG, but bring it back to its former glory. Because let's not forget, in its glory days, UG was sitting between a Gégère and a Patek. Universal Genève was sold by brands like Hermès and Van Cleef, for example. So for the ones who don't know, I heavily suggest to research into Universal Genève, because it is, in my opinion, a hidden treasure of the watch industry, which unfortunately suffered from the quartz crisis, but has a tremendous history and heritage and even brand identity, I would say.
I must ask, because yes, many people who know the brand are familiar with some of the different price points that played out. But I think it's very common when someone acquires a brand that you acquire a brand that doesn't linearly compete with you in the same price points or for the same consumer base. And arguably it could overlap with Breitling somehow. Is this company going to be priced similarly to Breitling or under Breitling, which is what I imagine might be more logical? What is this discussed at all? Is this known yet?
Yes. Universal Genève will be placed above Breitling.
Oh, above Breitling. Okay, so even though Breitling has some tourbillons and stuff like that, the Universal. Okay, so this is going to be a more elite product. going to be because of complications? Is it because of finishing and like what is going to be the basis of the higher value?
So just to give a bit of background, we've been discussing this for the past 2 years. George's strategy is to grow the entire company, if not the group, and to create more value for the entire group. We've achieved so much with Breitling, and now of course the growth of Breitling will continue at a more reasonable pace, because I think it grew so fast in the past 5 years that it would be unreasonable to think that growth curve could continue as it is. And George's strategy, if you want to keep growing as a group and not as a singular brand, is of course to start another project on top, which could, if you add both growth curves, keep an identical growth rate, sort of.
Interesting.
When he told me about this a few years back, I thought he was nuts, frankly, to start with, because back then I was, if you guys remember, we've launched so many collections at Breitling in the past 5 years. So I was doing, like Super Ocean and Navitimer. I was really in the mix of making all these new products. And he was on a side note saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm investigating to get a new brand, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? What are in your opinion, the best brands that we should acquire?" So we came up with a list, and Fred Mandelbaum and I always placed Universal Genève as some sort of the Joker lane, if you want, or the impossible one to get, just as a, it's like when you write your Christmas list and you say, "Can I get a airplane or something?" And you might not get it, but you just put it out there.
Why was it considered to be impossible to get?
It was impossible to get because in Switzerland, you can talk to many people, many groups and established brands and stuff. People tried to get UG for so many years. I take an example. For example, you can hear Guillaume Ledet on record saying that he would love to get UG, for example. And God knows he tried. And not only Stellix are very demanding on the conditions to acquire UG, but they are also very concerned about what the buyer will do with it. So it's a combination of both things. It takes a lot to buy it, and and they also want to know and approve what's going to be done with it.
Wow. I am curious, because I was about to ask about Fred Mandelbaum. So does this mean he now has to collect all the Universal Genève? And it has to collect all the UGs. Is this basically because Fred has completed his Panini sticker album of all the Breitling chronographs?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he already had like an extensive collection of UGs. Like, I actually own all of them.
Is this an inside job, Sylvain? What's going on? What's Fred thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, Fred and I always agreed that Universal Genève was the best one by far. We even had board meetings at Breitling where I've been asked, "Why do you care so much about UG?" And my comparison was always the same. I told them, in my opinion, buying Universal Genève is like when the Volkswagen Group acquired Bugatti back then, and they revived it from scratch. It's that kind of stupid project. Like you maybe dream about it, and if you were ever to do it, not only it would cost you a fortune to buy it, and it would cost you a fortune to do it properly. Because Universal Genève is not a brand that you can, take movements off the shelf and come up with a mock-up quickly of a product. This is actually why it tanked when so many people tried to revive it. Because dare I say it, I think nobody took it seriously enough so that it could breathe again, and being taken seriously by the real watch enthusiasts out there. There is still a very strong community around Universal Genève. The timing is actually quite funny, because last week the Paul Rauter book has been published, and we can see quite a lot of dynamism around Universal Genève these days. So the timing is quite funny, considering we had this project in the pipe for the past 2 years. But now I think it's a project big enough to say that we are, and it's very exciting because we feel that we are writing relevant pages of the watchmaking history by bringing finally Universal Genève back to life. And we plan to do it in a really epic way.
Sylvain, what is your role going to be? Obviously, you're the designer for Breitling, really, the head of it. Are you going to automatically acquire this role for Universal Genève, or is it sort of a different type of team? I'm just curious what your role in all this is going to be.
So until the deal was made, I was my role was the romantic guy wishing that we could get Universal Genève. But, as you guys say in the States, be careful of what you wish for. It actually happened. George and I have been working together for 10 years. We have this very intuitive way of working. So this is a startup. For the record, I've presented to George a few months back a 10-year product plan for UG.
Oh, wow.
That we validated. So we know what we want.
Incredible.
To do until 2033 already. And if we can achieve this product plan, I think all the people involved in this project could be very proud, because it would be not only restoring UG to its former glory, but also adding on because the brand stopped functioning at a point where technology was not so efficient, and there were many things that UG could not do back then. I think the first stage is, of course, to prove that we are worth taking UG. I think this is very important in terms of brand identity, but it's not about copy-pasting old designs either. So we also want to, like we did for Breitling, bring relevance back to the brand and make sure we create products that are relevant with today's society.
Exciting.
So when's day one start? Have you already got stuff on the drawing table? When are we going to see something brand new from the brand?
Yeah, we've hired people. I spend most of my summer hiring a handful of people for UG. Long discussions, precise profiles to find. So we've now built a small startup sort of team in order to, that includes product marketing, product heritage, product design, movement development, casing development. So we have this talent in-house now. Mm-hmm. This project will be incubated within the Breitling infrastructure, although we're going to operate on a separate P&L, so administrative structure, before UG finally launches and becomes its own company.
And in terms of the movement, and is there going to be an immediate crossover of the B01 is going to be used in Universal Genève product, or is it going to be an entirely
I'm guessing it's going to be totally different.
A different line.
And that's the thing, and that was the main difficulty of this entire discussion, because buying this brand was already very expensive. The days where, for example, you could acquire a Blancpain for 20,000 Swiss francs, which Jean-Claude likes to tell about, these days are long gone. This was half a century ago. UG, Universal Genève, is a very appreciated brand, still very active, especially in the vintage market. You have the pole routers, the compacts, the tri-compacts, cabriolet. All these pieces are heavily liked and traded still. So it is a brand that has still a lot of residual value, if you like.
Activity, a lot of activity.
Yes, exactly. So acquiring the brand was already a challenge. But to make it even more complicated, I always told Fred, and I were telling George and Partners Group that buying UG is one thing, but you have to spend another bulk of money on top if you want to do it properly, because this brand cannot afford to use third-party movements. So from day one, I always said, if you want to do it, it's like Bugatti. Bugatti cannot afford to use any movement from somebody, any engine, from another car brand, because it's one of these brands that they pioneered the micro rotor and everything. If you want to do it properly, you have to make other movements or new movements, and this is where it becomes a much more heavy and complex endeavor. Because as you guys know, making new calibers is a heavy industrial process.
Let me make an observation here. I think that George Kern made a very strong decision to increase the value of the group. He's trying to create something which is desirable. He knows that the more he invests in unique parts, movement, cases, different models, the more desirable it's going to be, because someone like Sylvain is going to not allow for them to be stupid, undesirable things. So he's not trying to make a profit in sales in an immediate time. What he's trying to do is increase the desirability and therefore the value of the group that he now has. That's what I feel is happening.
Yeah, precisely. And the good news is, this is why I work for George. For example, I've been caught on interviews and camera and everything saying that it is very hard and intense to work with him, because he's somebody who has such an intensity. Ariel and David and Rick, you all of you met George. He's not somebody that you can snooze on when he makes a request, right? You have to act and you have to keep the ball rolling at a quite fast pace, which is extremely physically and mentally demanding. But he's the one and only guy I know in the industry where you can tell him, hey, George, how about we acquire UG? And guess what? It takes him a couple of years and he makes it happen. And so we talked about it for a while. Then we didn't talk about it. And one day he called me again and said, oh, by the way, I didn't forget about that. And I'm working on it. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, I'm working on acquiring UG. I'm like, and he says, I'll fly to Asia next week and I plan some meetings and I will do what it takes to make it happen. I could not believe it. I was like, frankly, I should say this on record, for 6 months, he kept talking about it. And I was saying, yeah, like, whatever, because even I didn't believe in it. This is how, persuasive and intense he can be. He can go visit these guys and convince them that not only we have the financial mass to acquire the brand, but we also have the vision and the resources to make it, to bring it back to its former glory. So it is, I think with this move, so George not only built IWC, he rebuilt Breitling, now he acquired the Universal Genève. If we can realize the very ambitious product plan we have for the next 10 years, I think that will bring him to Jean-Claude Biver kind of status, in my opinion.
Do you expect the route to market to be the same as Breitling, in that you'll be able to go into a Breitling boutique and also buy a Universal Genève, or is it going to be third-party retailers, bigger groups, as a real high-end luxury thing? Like, is there I'm sure it would develop over the years, but is there an initial route to where am I going to be able to buy my first Universal Genève? Because obviously Georges can build a route to market exactly as he wants, because there isn't an existing one. There's no one existing to upset in terms of third parties or monobrands.
Yeah, so there is everything to build. At the moment, in my scope, it is not very clear what the distribution will be. The thing is, obviously, through Breitling, we are very well connected with the most established retailers on the planet. And I think George and Nasser will together find the right distributions that they want to do. UG was a brand that was retailed through various retailers. So I don't see why we could not be retailed again. And I don't see why we could not have our own boutiques. Time will tell. On my scope, what I'm heavily involved in is the brand identity and the relevance, if you want. My main focus is to make sure whatever we do is extremely relevant for the brand.
Yeah.
And I know it's easy to say in my seat, because I apply some sort of the Berneron mindset. I say, no matter what it takes, we need to tick these boxes, sort of, in order to make sure the product meets the expectations we have for it. And not only they acquired the brand, but they agreed to make new movements.
Yeah.
So I have this product plan, I have this movement plan. We've I hired people in order to do it, and it's a very exciting project. I can't wait to show you guys what we have in the pipe, and we're going to have, if we can achieve that product plan, I can guarantee you for 6 years in a row, we're going to sort of break the house or break the internet 2 times a year.
Cool.
And that would be mega.
What was your strategy? Was it to basically remake the old stuff, or to somehow take the spirit of the brand and make new stuff?
So to me, remake the old stuff is strictly forbidden for 2 reasons. First, I like to believe that history doesn't repeat itself. So it's not because something has been successful that it will be again in the same exact carbon copy. But nonetheless, it would be completely pointless to acquire a brand like UG if you would not capitalize on the love that there is on the market and everything. So of course we're gonna revive not only the names but the flair of the product and everything. But it will never be an exact copy. And if you have a vintage tree compacts or pole router or whatever it may be, and the new product, there should be a clear step ahead, not only in technique, in finishing, in design, everything, so that you know, okay, I have the vintage one and I have the new one as well. But these 2 pieces should talk to each other, and it should not be a diluted design DNA or cheap techniques.
Yeah. Super excited. I guess we won't push you for more.
Flair is a good word for Universal Genève. Anyway, whenever I look at those watches, shopping around or whatever, they do have flair. They're not the super safe kind of watches, but some of them are minimalistic in a way, but they do exemplify from the 40s, 50s, 60s, even all the flair that you could reasonably expect from watches of that period, right? So there's so much to work with, and I'm so happy. And if you look at what Breitling has been doing, they are not relaunching carbon copies of like old timers and whatever else. Sure, you can find a limited edition here and there that are very closely inspired, but the movements will be, super modern, the presentation, the size, whatever else, most of the time are heavily inspired, but in a way that is meaningful, but not boring like so many of the other watches I've been protesting against in the industry, where it's just like heritage, anniversary, tradition, whatever nonsense, and then it's just the same boring, stuff. So that's a relief to hear, Sylvain. That's really amazing.
Although talking of that, this means that Breitling now has a Genta link. Did Breitling previously have a Gerald Genta design link? I don't know.
No, Gerald Genta hasn't been involved in Breitling designs. And through Universal Genève, it is true that Genta has been involved in drawing the pole router.
Yeah. Cool. There we go. So the whole story. Well, thanks, Sylvain, for speaking to us about it. And yeah, really looking forward to it. Are we likely to see something kind of Watches and Wonders 2024? Like, when do we think we'll see a product?
Too early to say at the moment. I think let's stick to the business news for today, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of occasions to see you guys, because we'd like to show you products up front and everything. So we're going to have great opportunities to discuss this in further details.
Excellent. Look forward to it. Right, let's get your opinion and Ariel and David's opinion on some other watches. First up, the Gelfman IN16 Nixie tubes. I don't think anything could be more different than a Universal Genève discussion than this. Ariel, you had the joy, which I suspect it was for you, knowing what you like in watches, of reviewing this and getting a hands on with it.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us what a Nixie tube is, first of all, for those that maybe aren't aware or haven't seen the article.
A Nixie tube, I think, originally came out in like the 1950s. And it's basically a fancy light bulb, but the filament inside, there's multiple filaments for each of the numbers. And so you can have it, each of them light up, so we can actually tell a digit. And you had a bunch of Nixie tubes together. You could have long numeric digital readouts, and these were popular and used prior to computer screens. And because they're light bulbs, they glow and they're beautiful. And they came in all these different shapes and sizes, and some of them are small enough to be used maybe on a wristwatch. And for a number of years, there were like these nerdy project watches with Nixie tubes. Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, was famous for wearing one for a while. Yes. But they were never really incorporated in a luxury sense outside of clocks and things like that. And so Ilya Gelfman, the namesake of the brand, decided to engage on this long-term project that he embarked on more than a decade ago to make this watch. And I'd seen him a bunch of times while he has prototypes and testing this out and that out. So I've been sort of aware of this project for a long time. And if you're a science fiction person or a gadget lover or loves anything from Hollywood, science fiction, you're going to love this thing. It's definitely polarizing, as you said, but it's probably the best execution, not the cheapest, but the best execution of this sort of Nixie tube theme on the wrist, from someone who's a real serious watch enthusiast and collector. And these are real Soviet era USSR Nixie tubes. And this individual has stockpiled a lot of them. So he's able to do something like that. He's not like buying these from some other random place. Like he acquired a bunch himself. And this is a pretty refined product. You stick it in your computer pretty easily where you can charge it or adjust the settings at the time. It has one of those accelerometer features where you lift it up and it the display will light and you can adjust the parameters like how long it goes on, and there's even an LED backlighting you can mess with. So I just can't see people who are into this buying this and not having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. Is that the size they come in? Like, is it just one of these things you can't make a Nixie tube smaller than this?
They are smaller ones. In fact, the preference was for the larger ones because it makes sort of a statement. So the IN16 is actually the designation of the size. That's the name of the tube. So it's specifically saying, like, for these tubes, in the future, the company could make ones with variety of different tubes. There are definitely smaller ones.
Right, okay. Sylvain, is this something that you could ever have designed?
I like the design very much. I think it's cool. These are cool pieces. Obviously, the movement and technology taking so much part, I think it heavily compromises the ergonomics. But otherwise, I like the vibe, and I think it's a very cool product.
David?
Yeah, I want some Nixie tubes in my life. Every time I go someplace and they have like clocks or something on display with Nixie tubes, and I actually saw this watch in early prototype some years ago. Maybe a year or two ago, I'm always amused. I'm not sure how often I would want to wear it, just given the size. I mean, it's 20.5 millimeters thick, but it's so charming and so cool in so many ways that I would love to have one of these. It's like $8,000 though.
Yeah, it is one of these things that you see them either in the clock form or in the watch form. You go, that's so cool, and then you look at the price and you go, it's not that cool, but it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, but like if it had like a 7750 in it, we'd be like, well, it's kind of pricey, but okay. Like, I think
yes, exactly.
People are coming
It'd be just
from
as thick as well.
Just the wrong mentality. It is comfortable. It's about as small as it needs to be. It's far sexier than the other Nixie tube watches in the market. Just look at any other Nixie tube watch on the market. It is luxury made in terms of the case and stuff like that. It is a limited edition. I'm just saying, like, I can't see someone who's into luxury watches getting it and being like, damn, this is overpriced. Like, it isn't compared to what they're used to spending. Is the company making some money on it? Sure, but I don't think anyone else could come on the market and significantly undercut them at this quality and low volume of production.
No, this case is just fantastic, to be honest. I mean, it looks bespoke. It's different finishes, the whole like design and execution and all the rest of it. If it had a 2824 inside, I would still be like on the verge of dropping $8,000 just for the case. But it has freaking Nixie tubes in it, right? So it's a whole another story.
Well, it is worth going to the comment section to see the video clip from the Steve Jobs movie where Wozniak presents his Nixie tube watch to.
Oh, is that a scene?
Yeah, it's a scene. So
really? I didn't even know that.
It's from the film where he presents his Nixie tube watch to Steve Jobs, the eventual creator of the Apple Watch. So you can imagine how that conversation went in real life. David, me and you got to see a particularly shiny Bulgari a couple of years ago, and I know for both of us, I think it was our watch of the year. Should we be inclined to give such awards? It certainly was a highlight of my watch year. Now we have Zenith. The Zenith Defy Extreme Mirror Watch. Same stable, but is it giving you the same feelings as the Bulgari?
So much so that I reached out to Zenit and they're sending me one just to be, just to be sure. Honestly, it's probably already in the mail or something because I desperately want one of these. Yeah, I mean it's huge and it's $26,000, but it's all mirror polished, which is cool. It's another LVMH brand, so maybe they found someone who knows how to operate the polishing machine, 24/7. Just basically with their eyes closed. I mean, you could just stick this into it. No, of course, that's not how it works. I mean, there's a lot of effort into making this like an even finish. I'm looking forward to seeing how good it actually is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's over the top, but I think over the top watches have always suited Zenith quite well. I just encountered a not-off era monstrosity the other day, and it's so bad that it's good. I think this one, the Defy Extreme Mirror, is just good. It's just plain good. So yeah, it's part of the brand, I guess.
Well, there's in the comment section, Catnip Everleen quotes Confucius by saying, "If one can't see the cameraman's reflection on the watch, is it really a mirror watch?" Sylvain, is this really a mirror watch?
I think it is, yes, of course. And then I agree with David. The exuberance you get from these fully polished watches are very cool. It has to be said that you have to wear them very carefully. I recently met Auro who has one of these fully polished Octo Finissimos, and he wore it extensively. And let's put it this way, he was not as polished as he used to be.
Oh, damn.
That's the Sejima edition. So is it a bit like the Cybertruck that everyone's saying? That's this kind of polished stainless steel. It just picks up every conceivable scratch.
You get two watches for the price of one. I mean, you buy a polished one and then you end up with a brushed one. I mean, how is that a bad thing?
It just takes its time to get there.
Yeah.
It's like self-polishing. Ariel, what do we think?
Oh, I'm into this thing. I mean, this is what I like about this is it's showy without really being obviously showy. Like it is visually obviously showy, but no one can be like, "Oh, it's too much diamonds." No, it's not. They're like, "Oh, it's just a polished piece of metal, man." So it gets away with being unbelievably eye-catching, but also a tool that just confuses the mind. It's like so much shine yet so utilitarian. It has that kind of struggle, and I think that's why we like it.
Yeah, lots of shine, but still got a Velcro strap on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Can it be justified as being twice the price of the Sejima Bulgari?
Really?
So the Sejima edition Bulgari is 14 grand, and this is 26.
A lot more polishing? I don't know.
No, it's twice as thick, so basically twice as much polish.
It's polishing man hours.
That's totally not how it works. But actually, I figured it out. I've been looking at this watch for a long time, and they published it with like the watch floating in the desert somewhere, reflecting all kinds of things. And when you get that hunch that it reminds you of something, but you can't figure out quite what it is. So I looked at it again, and now it's the desert scene from the movie Seven, which is not a relieving thing at all. But I looked at it and I'm like,
"Don't open the Zenith box! Don't open the Zenith box!
It's so shiny, I have to open it."
DDV. So yeah, what do I think? Maybe it's the photography. It just. Is it possible to say that the shininess looks different than the Bulgari? I don't know why. It just doesn't. It just doesn't look quite as sophisticated for some reason. I have no idea why. Because if a thing's shiny, presumably a thing's shiny.
I mean, the base watch is not as sophisticated as the Bulgari. Let's be honest.
No, true. Maybe it's just the way the bracelet's done, but it does look uber cool. I have no idea how they justify charging 26 grand for it, but
I feel like it's good for people in the farming community because won't it naturally scare off birds or something?
That's right. We'll just apply it to the world's most expensive scarecrows. So down the farm, I mean, Zenith, if you want to send me one, you've sent one to David. I don't see why you wouldn't send one to me that spends most of his time outside on heavy equipment. I think this is the perfect watch for me to wear. I promise I'll return it without a single scratch. Actually, David, how on earth are you going to do anything with this watch? You're going to be absolutely petrified of putting a scratch on it.
His shirt's going to be made out of a polishing cloth.
it's not like you're going to be able to go and try it outside and like, I'll just go down to Burger King and see what kind of reaction this watch gets.
I have a polishing machine. I think I can get away with a bit of like extra polishing. No one will notice.
Take some microns off it here and there. TV.
Yeah. Sylvain, I wonder what do you think about brands stretching into such exercises that I think many in the audience can be reasonably expected to find tasteless? Is it something that brands should be... Because I celebrate these things, but I wonder what you think as a designer.
Sylvain, what's the most tasteless thing you've ever done in watch
That's
design?
so subjective.
Let him answer my question first and then yours.
Overall, I think it's always good when a brand tries new things. That I should mention, because especially in the watch industry, we tend to be so conservative and so locked into, the previous models that we like. I think every brand should be applauded for trying new things. And then when it comes to taste, when I see this watch, if we talk about the Zenith mirror, I think it meets the technical and some sort of sophisticated approach of Zenith. So I don't think it is completely off the park, so to speak. Okay, cool.
I don't know. I don't even know why I'm going to bother trying to pronounce this. New release, Hermes Arceau Bell. Can somebody who can speak French or something other than Scots pronounce the name of this new Hermes Arceau Bell du Mexique? Mexique watch. Basically, it's the Mexican watch with the ladies spinning round on it. Anyone else want to have a go at pronouncing it?
No.
Yes, that I could. It's called an Arceau.
Arceau.
Arceau. Okay.
Is it with a K or a C?
Not what I would have guessed.
It's a C. So in French we call it Hermès Arceau Belle du Mexique. It means an arceau is the round things that you use in gymnastics. The rings you hold against.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an arceau, and Belle du Mexique means the beautiful. We don't know what. It could be the beautiful girls or the beautiful mountains or the beautiful whatever from Mexico.
Well,
so.
I raised this watch purely because a number of weeks ago we put out the challenge having reviewed another Mexican watch with a skull on it, themed watch, and we put out the challenge of, can somebody produce a watch that doesn't use the trope of, the death theme for Mexico? And this watch from Hermes has done that because it's got Mexican dancers on it. So there you go. I don't really have much else to say about the watch, but I just thought it was interesting that somebody had actually managed to come up with a Mexican watch that didn't have to have a skull or some sort of Halloween vibe going on about it. What do we actually think of the watch? I mean, I feel not really able to review this watch terribly well. It's very nice.
Like, none of us are the target audience for this thing. Like, if I saw someone wearing it, I wouldn't be like, the hell is that? I'd be like, oh, cool. It's someone actually bought one of those hand painted, Hermes dials. Good, good for them. Like, that would be my reaction.
Well, it can be yours for $70,000. So yeah, go and check out that if you wish. Okay, we played at the beginning of the show the Guess What Sylvain's Got to Tell Us. It would seem only appropriate to give Sylvain the chance to play Guess the Price of the Seiko. And this week it is something from Grand Seiko Heritage 62 GS Watches of Switzerland Group exclusive. So these are exclusive, everybody. So let's think what that might do to the price. So it's a Grand Seiko.
$7,000. I don't think
you just haven't. You're not even waiting for
no,
what
you have to
it
take
is.
this seriously, Ariel.
Come on,
this
come on,
matters.
Come on,
I heard
this
Watches
matters.
of Switzerland, and I'm thinking $7,000.
There are people who care. So it's a 62 GS, 100 meters water resistant, Zaratsu polishing. It's a shiny watch. 36,005 hertz movement, 9S85 high beat, 55 hours power reserve. There is a purple one, a green one, and a black one. I think one of them is limited edition, if I remember correctly. I think the black one's 200 pieces. Have a guess. So Ariel, you're guessing $7,000.
Ooh,
Sylvain,
when I heard high beat, ooh, I might be off.
Do you wish to change? Do you wish to?
I can't now.
Can't
Yeah.
now. Sylvain, higher or lower than $7,000?
I would say slightly lower. I would guess around 6 Gs.
6. David.
I will slap High Beat, Watches of Switzerland tax on it and say 9.
9. We made a promise a few weeks ago that if Ariel managed to get 3 in a row right, that we'd stop playing this game.
Okay.
He's not quite, though. It's $6,900. So may luck,
Okay.
Seiko. We're
That's
continuing to
7
play
with
this
a
game.
tip. That's fine.
7 with a tip.
Yeah.
I think this is okay for $7,000. They're very
How
nice.
big is the case again?
How many Dixie tubes does this have? 0.
No Nixie tubes. If it's not got a Nixie tube, we're not interested.
I'm no longer interested.
I think this looks like it's a 21mm lug to lug, 40mm it looks like. Yeah, 40mm, 47.
And how are these
overall.
watches any different than anything else Grand Seiko has made? I'm asking seriously.
It's not supposed to be different.
Oh,
That's the point. It's just like buy your watch from us. That's the message.
I mean,
But
they
quite like
literally
the color.
they can have a watch called the Grand Seiko, and everyone would know what they're talking about.
Good.
I quite like these. Quite like these. Sylvain, what do you think of? You're obviously steeped in the design aesthetic from Switzerland and that kind of area of watch design. What do you make of the Japanese design aesthetic? Like, how do you interpret it? What do you think they bring to the show that the Swiss don't bring?
Overall, I find Japanese culture extremely delicate and subtle, whether it is in the food, in the architecture, in the ways they interact with each other. It is a culture that I really enjoy, same as the Italian culture, for example. They have a lot of... you definitely find some sort of a signature in the Japanese culture for the ones who appreciate the things not so obvious, I would say. So once you understand what they meant and how they translated it into a product, then you can fully appreciate it. Then, of course, if you have the jungle approach that Ariel very often refers to, then I think Grand Seiko is not a brand that you would go for naturally, because he doesn't have the exuberance that some of the luxury products needs to have in order to sell. But overall, I think Japanese design architecture is spot on, very subtle, very cool.
Splendid. Well,
I still don't know if there's an answer to that. How is this Grand Seiko different than any other Grand Seiko? I want to know, if someone goes to watch in Switzerland, is like, other than this being sold here, how is this different than another one? And I think that's increasingly the problem. Like, when there's like a new Breitling that comes out, I'm like, oh, I recognize that's not already in their collection. I have that problem with almost every Grand Seiko.
Yeah, you mean in the fact that it tends to be extremely repetitive and
it's so derivative. If there wasn't that little label that said new, you could have fooled me.
Yeah, true. I see what you mean. I really like they've done an open dial skeletonized tourbillon watch a few years back. I don't remember the name, but that thing was... Yes, exactly. That
was
thing
cool.
was stellar.
That's
and
fire.
I wish if I was in the management at Grand Seiko, I would actually extract some DNA from that product and then bring it into more accessible products.
You mean not their unwearable chronographs?
No, this one.
So,
No,
the
not-
moment something is not derivative, then it's unwearable. So which
No,
one do you want?
not David's generation. You remember the sport ones that came later that were literally so big?
Yes, I know what you mean.
You remember those
with
the super
with
sharp
with the
case?
bolt-on ceramic parts and something. Yeah.
It was like, I mean, when we wear it, we're like, this is so big. I had no idea.
There was this computer game in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s actually. It was called Shogo. And you were like a little character that could jump into these gigantic robots and just fire like blue pulses of like matter at like stuff and just blow everything up. We were talking about late 90s graphics and stuff, and it was so over the top with the Japanese rock music and just jumping around with like robots the sizes of buildings and skyscrapers and stuff like that. And that is the game I always think of when I think of those freaking Grand Seiko chronographs that were too large to wear. And because I like that game, I feel like I'm
They're for the robots, I get
attached
it.
to it. Yeah, it's actually for the robots. Yes. Oh well.
Oh, well, there'll be a limited, edition pastiche of it along shortly from G-Shock or somebody. No doubt.
Look, we give G-Shock, we give Grand Seiko a hard time because we have high expectations of it. Like what we know they can do, what we like them for, is a very specialized thing, as Sylvain said, a very sort of nuanced subtlety that they get right. But they're creating a pastiche of themselves, and it is funny. So they've asked for us to pay very close attention to what they do, and now that we have, we're recognizing that in their desire to grow, they're stumbling over themselves a little bit. And for brands that try to exude the sale of perfection, I think we have a right to laugh at every little misstep they do, especially when they ask for so much money for their products.
Fair enough. Right, let's bring the show in for a landing. We're going to play a quick couple of rounds of Hit Miss Maybe. So first up, keep your comments short, is the Formex Baby Reef 39.5mm automatic watch. I love the Reef, but this is the best, and maybe 39.5mm is no size for a dive watch. That's not dive watch size. Ariel, what do you think?
Mean?
I saw this.
It needs to be bigger than that. What are you making a small one for? The big one was fine.
They already made a big one.
Yeah, I know. So just keep making the big one. What do you need to make a? We're making a junior one for robots. Ariel.
I saw this watch. It is in principle okay, but the decision they made to go with the wider bracelet just screws up the proportions.
Yes.
So I think that, again, I don't really know all the details in the background, but like I'm happier that the bigger one exists. I have no problem with there being a smaller one, but the proportions need to be good no matter the dimensions. And this one, the proportions are just off. So this is not the best thing that they offer right now, in my opinion.
Okay, so we'll give you a maybe for that. But
no, it's a miss.
It's a miss.
I like the Reef, and I like the proportions are off. Maybe if you put it on a smaller strap, then that could be fine. But they would really have to taper. It's those wide lugs. It's the 22mm wide lugs. It's most of the diameter.
It's the same, is it not? It's basically the same strap.
It's the same exact one. It's the larger one.
From the big one, it's just they've put a smaller watch face on it. So
yeah, they didn't want to make it too complicated for the retailers or whatever, but it ended up with this strange Frankenstein thing.
Yeah. Sylvain, Hit Miss maybe?
For me, it's a miss, unfortunately, as well. I agree with Ariel. I think the proportion is a bit funky, but mostly I'm not sure if this meets the diving standards, simply because when the minute hand covers the hour, you cannot see where the hour hand is, and therefore I have problems with dive watches that do not fulfill the base requirements of diving, but that's my take on it.
Purist. David?
I like this. I think this is a hit. I see what you're saying with regards to proportions. I quite like this one though, for some reason. Another $2,000. I think this is fine. Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Well, David, we're going to give you the first Hit Miss maybe on this. The blinged out Hublot Square Bang Unico watch. Surely with all these diamonds, it's a hit.
Biggest hit ever. I mean, it's as graceful as a donut set with diamonds. Or a burger with diamonds on it. It's large, it's square, it's over the top, but anything that has freaking, where you can't really see the case, it's just diamonds, I'm sold.
Yeah, I've got to say, I shouldn't like this, but I do. I love this one.
It's so
brilliant.
Good.
So good, isn't
it? Not with the brilliant cut ones. No, give me the Chinese cut ones. No.
That's right. Go away, you brilliant cut. Where?
Yeah, 400k. Oh my goodness.
That's right. Sylvain, are more diamonds better?
Yes, in that style of execution, I would also say it's a hit. You have the complete Baroque/brutalist approach to this. It's very over the top. It fulfills its mission, I would say, very nicely.
Yeah. Ariel, does it fulfill however many hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of mission for you? It's
the diamond decorated, skeletonized dial Cartier Santos I've always wanted.
Yes. Actually, that's a good point. It is very, yes, it is. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. Put this beside a Santos, and the only difference is this has got a USB port on it. There we go. Anyway,
it doesn't get any better than that.
It would only been better had they managed to put a diamond over the USB port on this Hublot, but that was clearly the one bit of real estate they couldn't actually get to work with a diamond on it. Right, finally, hands on the Nomos Club 703.1 watch. I think I finally found a Nomos that I like. This is a hit. It's too small, but I'm going to grant it that it's okay. But I really like this. Anybody else agree? Is it a hit for any of you guys?
Yeah, I like the Club. I think it's great. It's one of the few Nomos I genuinely like and would consider getting. Cool.
Ariel?
It's a bit small for me, but like it's a thumbs up to get as a gift. Like this is the easiest watch to suggest as a gift. Like that teenager is gonna love it.
Yeah, and it's $1,500. You're getting some reasonably serious watch chops for 1,500 quid on a Nomos like this, I think. Sylvain, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree the same. I think Nomos is a fantastic entry-level brand for any watch enthusiast. You get to experience craftsmanship and Bauhaus design and everything. I'm all up for Nomos initiatives in general.
It's just not enough brutalist for me.
More concrete.
More diamonds, more baguette diamonds in that Nomos.
Brutal house.
That is us for this week. Let's find out what everybody's doing. Sylvain, are you busy drawing new Universal Genèves for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I have to cope with the fact that I have 3 brands to handle now. So that will take me a while to realize, but that's the story. But very excited nonetheless. 3 amazing brands, or I should judge myself too, and let you guys judge the third one. But a lot of work ahead. Very happy, very excited, and thank you for having me on the show.
No, thank you for coming. Ariel, what are you up to next week?
I'm going to be processing this crazy news about Universal Genève. That's something that's I think we're all very excited about. And again, thank you, Sylvain, for coming and talking about that in the background and launching it here with us. I am finally home for a few weeks, so I have literally hundreds of watches to go through. Got a lot of backup that I'm trying to get published, so there's going to be a lot of great hands-on articles, and that's how I'll get through the holiday time.
Yeah, I have noticed that there's been somewhat of an uptick in the number of articles you're putting on the website. Are you just doing one a day at the moment? Have you got that much of a backlog?
At least. I have. I mean, it's not something that I personally put off. I decided to take on a bunch of things that other people I was under the impression we're going to handle, and now it's like, well, Ariel needs to do it. So this wasn't like I was lagging.
Poor company owner. What a shame. David, what are you up to for next week?
I'll be just pushing my nose against the window, waiting for the postman to arrive with my Defy mirror for the week.
Cool.
That's me.
I want to see lots of angles of you not being able to not have yourself reflected in it. Want to see some really bad photography of this as well as some really good photography. The things that, like the outtakes, the things that went wrong in terms of the photography of this. So
when it's just a shining light, just all burned out, like the sensor needs to replacing, stuff like that. I mean, it's a warranty issue. I mean, this is like a threat to any camera, basically.
Good stuff. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Sylvain, for coming on the show. That was really great to hear from you. Thank you for sharing the news with us. We will see you all again, or speak to you all again next week. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.